Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome to episode 31 of Exploring Elite Dangerous. I've found another planetary nebula, and this one has a black hole at the centre of it. I travelled toward the black hole, got a little close and dropped out of Super Cruise. And now here I am wondering whether I should turn back or whether I should work my way forward and see just how close I can get to this black hole. Incrementally, step by step, I'm slowly making my way towards the centre of the galaxy and Sagittarius A, the supermassive black hole that exists there. I've moved on another few thousand light years since the previous episode and made some rather interesting discoveries, most notable of which is this system I'm currently in, which is occupied by a rather large number of ringed planets. Now, I haven't seen a system quite like this one since I was back at NGC 7822, many thousands of light years away from my current location. So most of these rings are around gas giants, some of them around red or brown dwarfs there, but quite interestingly there's some rings here around some rocky planets, and I'm going to go and take a bit of a look at them. Ringed gas giants are very common, as you probably no doubt know. You've probably seen many of them yourself. Ringed rocky worlds are, however, are slightly less common, especially the ones of a variety of colours. This is what we could perhaps call a cheeseball planet. It actually turns out to be a high metal content planet rather than just a rocky world, and as we know, high metal content planets actually have a fair bit of value to them. I think, although I may be mistaken, that having rings around the planet will also add to the value of the planet, especially if they are metallic rings or something like that, and that would be due to the value of the ore in them. Now, none of these are terraformable because they haven't got any atmospheres. For those of you that have watched my Finding Valuable Planets video, you will know all about the habitable band zone that exists within most systems. This I found to be rather interesting. It's actually a binary pair of ringed metal planets here. It's not all that often you come across a planet where you can see the other planet orbiting quite this closely, although I'd like to see one significantly closer than this. If at all possible, I guess I'll just have to keep looking. These then are all the sorts of planets we're going to be able to land on when we finally get the Horizons expansion. Imagine being down on the ground and looking up at that ring and seeing another ringed planet in the same way we currently do with our moon on Earth. Talking of moons orbiting close to their planets, this was one I thought might well be doing that. It's an ice moon with a ring around it, and I was hoping that it would be orbiting close to its planetary system, but unfortunately that proved not to be the case. So, well, at least I got to see this rather interesting sight. Now, this is classed as a star. It is a sun. And yes, interestingly, all stars are actually suns. There's sun with a lowercase s, which is what this and all the other stars out there are classed as. And then there's sun with an uppercase s, which is the name of our sun or our star. So this particular star here is actually a gas giant that's on the verge of becoming a star. It exists on the threshold of being a planet, a gas giant planet, and a star. Well, as I was looking around the galaxy map, trying to plot a course toward the centre of the galaxy, I actually come across another planetary nebula, which you can see right here. I'll get in a little bit closer so you can see it, but you can see it's got a slight orb around it, different to the other stars here. And that's similar to what was featured in the previous episode, except this one was even more interesting than what we saw previously. There are different types of planetary nebulas within the game. There's some greeny coloured ones and some red coloured ones. I haven't seen either of them yet, but, well, hopefully we'll find them one day. But en route to that destination there's still a few hundred light years to go, so I obviously stopped off on other areas and had a look to see what I could find in these places. This planet I was kind of hoping would be an ammonia world, but I guess my hopes were a little bit too high for that, because, you know, when you look really closely at the map you can see it's not actually that, and to be honest I should have listened to the sounds on the system map, because the system map itself has got a rather neat feature. If you get close to the planets, you can hear they all make an individual and distinct sound, and each planet type actually has its own sound. Water worlds, for example, have a running water sound. So that will give you some ideas of what the planets are long before you actually get to them. Now, I must say the number of ringed planets out this way was actually rather astounding to me. Like I say, I can't wait to get down onto the planetary surfaces and look up in the sky and see these types of rings hovering there. As I jumped into this system, I got a little bit close between the two stars here, but fortunately all was good. Now, within our real galaxy, these would be classed as contact binaries, and that is where two stars are actually so close to each other that they actually would share the same gaseous envelope. And as we get further away, you can see them starting to appear to merge, and this is essentially how they would look up close. Almost like an 8 shape, or the infinity sign. Frontier haven't quite got that in the game yet, but I'm hoping it's in there at some point, along with other features such as comments, etc. As what seems to be increasingly the norm out here, I come across yet another water world. These are becoming very easy to find, and I can usually find a water world every 5 or 6 jumps or so, quite easily. Thing is, some of the systems even have multiple water worlds. I've seen a few with 3 or 4 water worlds without much problem at all. Earth-likes, however, are another matter, and I haven't seen many of them around yet at all. And yeah, I keep searching for that elusive ringed Earth-like. But there's still plenty of way to go yet to the galactic core, and beyond that I will be travelling off out the other side of the core and out toward the edge of the galactic rim. I'm then planning on making pretty much a full circumference of the galaxy to get myself back towards human space. Now, here I am approaching the new planetary nebula. At this point, I had no idea if this was a new discovery or not. So far, I've been the first discoverer of everything I've found out this way. So let's see what happens. The transition into planetary nebulas really is something else. Unlike many other nebulas, there's no bright star here. This one has a black hole, so there's no light around, meaning we instantly see the surrounding nebula, something you don't normally see until you've travelled some distance away from the light source. Unfortunately, I wasn't the first discoverer of this place. Helvarth here made it way before me, but not to worry, this is still an amazing find and something I was quite surprised to come across, something I didn't know existed until I got out here. I haven't seen a black hole for a very long time, so this to me was very exciting, especially knowing that now you can get much closer to them than I could in all the previous black holes I've seen. Surrounded by an area as beautiful as this is perhaps the most stunning area I've so far seen in the game. Fortunately, it also had a few more planets in it than the previous planetary nebula. Something that is particularly stand out here is that due to the fact there's no light source, these planets are actually very dark and they're lit purely by the ambient light of the surrounding nebula. If there was no nebula here, we'd be looking at nothing but black disks here. We've got behind this planet what should be a small light source, another brown dwarf, but the game engine prevents it from being a light source. However, that means we're treated to something rather unusual: black ring systems. The black hole, of course, emits no light, and so, like the planets we just saw, this ring system is completely dark. There's one thing that continues to hold true to Elite, even after well over a year of playing the game, and that's around every corner there's the potential for a surprise, the potential to find something you've never seen before, and that really is the heart of Discovery. For me, it's what exploration is all about. I'm not out here for the money. I'd be here even if the game gave 0 credits for the journey. Credits is just a bonus. What it's really about is finding places like this. Now, this gas giant is merely a gas giant. It's not on the verge of becoming a star, and therefore it's dark and remains unlit, just like the rings around it. It was just so nice to finally find a planetary nebula that actually contained some planets within it. Now, the process that causes planetary nebulas to form would actually destroy most planets within it. I guess that's why all we've got here is gas giants. But you know, that black hole just kept beckoning to me. You can see it here in the distance. The distortion is apparent even from thousands of light seconds away. Now, as I said, as I entered this system, I knew that we can get much closer to black holes now than we previously could. I kept flying toward it, and eventually I was pulled out of Super Cruise. Where I go next? That was the question. I knew I could possibly fly toward it, but I knew I could also try and escape for now while the going was good. I'd heard tales of people getting very close to these black holes, and I'd heard tales that these black holes no longer give extensive heat damage. But I'd never seen an official word of this, and I'd never seen other people try it for themselves. I like to see these things for myself first. With my heat levels at 54%, I'd been sure to keep the ship as cool as possible by deactivating shields and the fuel scoop. I had heat sinks at the ready, but was fairly sure that I wouldn't need these. And then it was time to activate the FSD. What surprised me here wasn't the relatively low heat levels, but the visuals outside the ship. In front of the canopy was a reflection of what existed behind me, and just like that, I was out. I don't know how much longer it's going to take me to get to Sagittarius A. I'm not rushing the trip by any means. I fully intend to keep exploring this place. There's just so many things to see. For me, as I get closer and closer to the galaxy core, I'm reminded continuously why exploration means so much to me. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.